Hey, how's it going? Nick here, getting back on here after a 4 or 5 month hiatus. I wouldn't say hiatus, just doing other stuff, and it was finally had the opening to kind of get back on here and do a video. Um, so I think the topic generally I want to talk about is kind of learning to value my dignity as much as dollars as a creative entrepreneur. Um, and this is a second version of the video that I recorded. I did another version, kind of just winging it, and it's a good exercise, and it's a good video. But I think I wanted to add a little more structure to this video. See if this version goes a little bit better, and if it does, then you'll see this version. So yeah, it's kind of learning that iterative thing when it comes to communication and seeing kind of like also like this week, for example, I feel more chill and at ease, whereas last week I felt a little more like crunched and tense. So I'm kind of just seeing the difference and seeing how that sounds. Anyway, you don't need to know all that all the time, but that's just the peak now. And so yeah, I want to start with like a small update. Um, Last time I was on here, last video, talking head video, I was talking about leaving or changing up the agreement that I have with my part time job. And it was like doing 2 days of work a week. I did that for 5 years. And I kind of hit this place of like, I want this to change. I want to, and it felt like it wasn't just a change of like a mental change. It was like me checking in, tuning in, realizing, okay, I have an opening. This is time. Like I either take this opening, listen to myself and do it, or kick the can down the road. And I did. And it was like uncertain, right? I didn't quite know what was going to happen. Um, but basically, what happened was it kind of started with a reducing of my working there, doing the gondola work, which I love to do. But at that point, it was a little too much cumulatively. And it kind of came in for me to do, like 2 days or 2 weekends a month. So basically, just cut it in half and then being on call for available, and so that felt really nice. But like money went down with that, right? But the good thing is, and this is not what I would have known because I'm not in control of all the forces of the world, is I got busy with other work, and so it kind of start to make sense on the other side of things. Like, oh, this is why I felt like it was time because um, this was going to happen. But that was also years of cumulative preparation and being a good illustrator and a graphic recorder or event illustrator. And it was like I'm kind of feeling that payoff of doing something for a little longer time, and then kind of that balance between uh, a part time thing and then something you want to do a little bit more. But yeah, for about 3 months, I basically did events. I had one or two event per month, and um, that kind of came to start slowing down at the end of October, and then I had a small event at the beginning of November, and then at the end of that last event, um, I was like, okay, I think I'm done with this kind of work right now, and that kind of ties into the dignity piece because it was like, mentally it'd be like, well, just try to keep making this happen, try to keep making money. But it was like I was tired. It just felt like natural to kind of switch things up. Something else needed my attention, kind of the same way that when I left the every weekend gondolas in the summertime. Um, and Yeah, and so once I kind of got to that point of like, I think I'm done now. I got an inquiry to do another event, but it was on short notice. So I finished a week, and this is like high intensity preparation sometimes or performance work, doing live drawing, and like it takes a lot out of you. Or I got to recover. And I was like, so it's kind of like it seemed like a test. Like it's like, are you really gonna honor like what you said? Like you said you want to just not do this work right now, and but it was like an opening, right? But the thing is, like, client reached out. They were it was a short notice communication, and then when they did get back to me, and I offered a couple windows to meet, and then a little too much time went by, and it was like 2 days before the actual they wanted to bring me in, and it was just like, it's number one, I think, principally on the principle of it, like it just didn't, honor myself, but also realistically, like I didn't want to give a service, even though it would have made money, like rushed, and like I know the quality would not have been as good for them. And so like it felt like an experience of maturity, right? To be like, okay, you're gonna value your energy and your time, and in turn, the client benefits from you valuing your energy and time, and then it also kind of gives me like fuel for how to communicate more clearly and better in the future when talking to clients on short notice. And I think that's one thing I'm realizing or getting clear on is like I kind of now have a sense of when I work with clients and do event illustration, like doing short notice events is sometimes it's too short. So it's like maybe a week out or 2 weeks out is fine. I can make it work, because you got to juggle, life is happening. You got to juggle stuff. And um, obviously I prefer like longer periods to kind of prepare, but sometimes, don't want something in my head for too long. So 1 to 2 weeks. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into the weeds there. This is about, but just so you can kind of know a little bit about like what I'm going through as a creative thinking about things. But really, I kind of want to come back to and bring that into like, I'd said no, um, and turned down the money, and they were cool with it. Like, I mean, not that it was a choice, but they had to be cool with it, and they were kind, and vice versa. But it kind of like has me reflect back. Beginning creative, doing this for 15 years, in some respect, whether it's part time or more full time. Um, I remember being a beginning creative entrepreneur, and I remember I didn't have that. Of course, I didn't have it, but if you're a beginner and you happen to hear this, I didn't have a good sense of self esteem like inside of myself as a beginner. All I had was the external rules that people told me about business, and this is how you do it. And also my skills were good, like good enough to be offer a service, but not great. And so like these things, I felt these deficiencies inside of myself. And so what would happen is I would do client work, and I would charge less than I probably should have. I mean, relative to now. At the time, I think it was fine, but less than I should have. It was all about what they wanted, like, or more about what they wanted, and very much less about me and taking care of myself or my time. It was just about kind of putting myself on the line. And I think at the time I was young enough, obviously, to do that and it not have adverse effects. But like, moving to my 30s and now 40s, like, it's not a good habit, right? So it's like kind of a learning period. And then it kind of moved, I'd say, from there to the middle. And this is where it became like, okay, I started to get a little bit more self esteem and a little bit more skills to start to earn higher amounts of money, ask for more. But still, it's mostly more about the client, right? The client's money took precedence over what I was, over the sense of service or skill set or my sense of self. And so I was putting myself underneath, the client's like right here, and I'm right here. So like in the beginning, it was like this, like client's up here and I'm down here, and then it smooths up in the middle, right? I'll give you an example. Like I worked with a guy who gave me, we had a meeting, right? We had a meeting. It was like I responded to a ad on Craigslist for a video, and they were looking for something to explain their business. It was a startup. I think it was technology based, and I'd worked in a technology startup for 3 or 4 years, so I kind of knew the field or was familiar with it. So I was like, yeah, let me reach out. I can maybe help you. And so we had a meeting, and I remember this meeting was like very rushed and fast, and it was like I left thinking like, whoa, what the heck just happened? And I think it was maybe 10 minutes, but he basically told me about his business, high level. I told him about what I did. Um, and then like he threw money at me. I remember he sent, excuse me, he sent me a PayPal uh, transfer. And I think it was a couple $1,000s like at the time to kind of get the project going. And in my place where I wasn't looking at all the other factors of like, hey, we need to kind of, there needs to, I didn't have a, I did have a structure in place, but I didn't have the confidence maybe to bring it forward because the guy gave me his money. And it was like I dropped my process because the money took precedence. And I remember doing the project and like did pretty good work. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but like no one else was going to be able to do it. Like, at least, I mean, other people could do it, but no one else that he was talking to was going to do it. And I just remember he was like very not a good communicator and kind of left me hanging. And it was just all on me. Like it was like the money became this symbol of like, oh, the pressure's on you. It's up to you. And I remember like, uh, he was just kind of rude. And he asked for his money back, which I gave him his money back. Like I could have kept it, but I was like, I don't want, this is over for me. Like I'm done. Like I think it was a big learning, and I sent him his money back, and then he said something about maybe working in the future, and I was like, nah, I'm good. Like that's not gonna happen, to myself. And so it's like a massive learning of like in this kind of journey of valuing my dignity over the external dollars. And that kind of brings me to today, like the present, right? Of now it's like the maturity, growing up, and having a lot of experience, and kind of what I call honoring my soul or listening to my intuition, which I feel like is the sense of dignity is directly linked to soul or your sense of peace. And if you don't follow that, then you're not going to be peaceful. Um, but it's kind of like these days it's like I'm starting to see like even though I still have financial question marks and large challenges at points, but I still have I have the ability to earn larger amounts of money too. So it's not, it funds my ability to live life and do what I do and live as a creative, how I like to live. But the, the relationship is more, I did my visual earlier like this, it's even now, like whether or not the client sees it like that, like that's how I know it is. That's a big differentiation that I've learned or I'm learning currently is like not every client who comes to you is going to see you as an equal. Um, Good clients will, right? Like that's where the partnership starts, and I'm kind of realizing like not everyone really knows how to do that either, right? They don't know how to see you as an equal because maybe you're not, or I'm not showing up as an equal. Maybe I haven't communicated clearly or presented things clearly, and so that's a learning process too. But I think the general takeaway is like the more kind of knowing and groundedness and structure I can kind of present up front and presentation, the better a client's going to understand like, oh, okay, this is not someone that, um, I'm going to push around. Like they're going to hold their ground, and I got to hold my ground, and we're going to be equals. Like it's not going to be a case of like, I'm going to send you money and you're going to be my little servant and make my thing. And I think like that's a huge realization for me. I'd imagine anyone like is like how important and how like good it actually feels to have a sense of dignity, and then to realize like, oh wow, like it's great to make money, but like money doesn't solve everything, right? Like it doesn't give me it gives me some time, it can buy me some time for certain things, but like if I really look at money, it's not even, it's just a symbolic abstraction of value in some way. And like our world is uncertain and money can go to zero, and my friend, like one of my friends, she says numbers on screens. Like it's like what happens in reality isn't changing so drastically day to day when money comes in or it goes out. And so that helps me see like money isn't as real as people make it. And so when people come in and use, a client could come in and use money as like a kind of like I'm up here and you're down there, like it's like starting to be like, oh, that's bullshit. Like it's not even true. Like I see through it. But yeah, I think that's that's a massive learning and a major realization for me. Um, so yeah, and I think this year, I've also been able to help me to say no more to certain projects. And that's kind of a new place, like saying no. And sometimes the no is just because like I want to work on something else. Like I have something personal I want to do and work on, and I don't even know what it is. I just want the space to do it, and it's not even about the client at all. Um, so I got to kind of put a pin in that too. Uh, so yeah, I think that's kind of the my general thoughts on like beginning, middle, end or present, kind of like as it relates to dignity and dollars and balancing the two. Um, but I think further kind of talking about time, I heard this. I was on this like a call, and the guy said he said the only thing money can buy is more time, and yeah, I think that kind of dovetails into what I was just talking about. It's like money kind of seeming less appealing as an object. And I think it's like again just a reminder for me to kind of come back to myself, my soul, like the peace, the internal peace inside of myself, and kind of let that guide the process and not um, the money. Um, but inside of that, like as I'm sitting here now, it's because I have this time, like to sit here. Like I've had a week plus of just time to think, time to process. After I said no to money, like through the last client, uh, time to just be with like kind of new creative emergings, and it's fulfilling, right? It's fulfilling in a way that taking the money and working hard and being extra tired would not have been. I know that now, and I kind of know, like I have enough experience to know that when I'm taking work or when I push myself beyond a certain point and I continue to work, like I'm gonna be really upset about it. Like, I'm gonna be very moody or grumpy, or even though I have the dollars, right? And it's like, well, you got and it's like, of course, the argument can be made. Well, you got the dollars, you can spend those in the future and then make yourself happier. But like, I don't know that either, and I think that comes down to like, I've been a big piece of dignity or listening to yourself, your soul, your sense of peace is we don't we can't with money you can't optimize for fulfillment. Like you can't control reality and being you can't be fulfilled by your reality if money is the always the core driver, or it's an imbalance, right? Because you could it's kind of like that goal setting, like I'm going to have a point A, I'm going to go to point B, and once I get to point B, I'm going to be so happy. And it's kind of like, well, I'm going to work for money, I'm going to make the money, and then once I have the money, I'm going to do this. But then it's like you don't know if you're going to be happy or fulfilled with that. And so I've found the big piece of the dignity is to I don't want to say this sounds overly entrepreneurial like speak, but optimizing for fulfillment is kind of, I feel like, what listening to yourself can over time can do. It's not always easy to listen to yourself, and I don't think I've always had the capability to honor what I call my intuition or my soul fully, like especially starting off. And a lot of people wouldn't even know what the heck that means. It just may just mean like some filler word, but I think like it's like a balloon for me. It's like maybe in the beginning, the soul or my sense of listening and to the inner whispers of myself was like a little small balloon, and then now it's like blown up, and it's like I can't ignore it. Whereas in the beginning, you can ignore it, and I don't actually think there's anything 100% wrong with ignoring it. Uh, when you don't have the capability to even know that it's a thing or that it's something that you would acknowledge. I think that's part of the learning process. But I think, if I could give a tip to anyone who's curious about just more fulfillment as a creative or just balancing money and dignity, it's to kind of like, that have that attention to be to be inside of your what makes you peaceful, and see if you can kind of like let that have as much weight as money. Yeah, I'm gonna stop for a second and just kind of like see if that's kind of what I wanted to say. I had some notes and stuff, but it's really hard for me. You may have noticed me slightly saying it, but it's like I just got like a sentence or two, and I was like, okay, I just got to talk on the fly. And so it's like I feel like it helps to make notes, but I think obviously it's best to be extemporaneous and be here in the moment. So I'm gonna see if there's anything extra for me to say at this time. 20 minutes in. Yeah, I mean, I think I just kind of said it. If I was talking to someone out there, and it's that making dignity, a sense of dignity, a sense of self, just as valuable as dollars. And I know that's not an easy thing to do. I want to acknowledge that. So I think, but just realizing it is a lane of capability. And I think it's highly valuable because of just the general fulfillment you have, but also because, and this is what I think maybe even a really cool piece too, is playing your role in the unique way that you know how and you're here to play, because our world and the like rule sets of the world, the rules of the world, they give you places to slot yourself and follow these rules if you want to get to this thing. And that's very much related to like that goal setting thing of like, I'm in this point and I want to get there, so I'm going to have these behaviors to get to that point. And while I don't think anything is wrong with that, I think it's more about where that type of thing emerges from. And in my experience, like getting from these like point A to B creative kind of journeys aren't massive, large, like life vision or year vision things. Sometimes they're, I feel like a week out or 2 weeks out. And I feel like for me more recently, I've had some 2 or 3 month out kind of emergent clarity that's, that I know is rooted in reality. And I think that's another cool distinction is that, like the mentalization of creative outcomes isn't a real-time adaptive thing that is fully acknowledging reality. It's usually future-based and trying to squeeze something out of the future that isn't here to be squeezed quite yet. And yeah, that's some deep subject stuff. I can go into that. I can talk about that more later. But yeah, so I think it's that thing about like the balance between the dignity, the peace, and the dollars, and then the benefits of that, like the fulfillment, and then you start to differentiate from any rules out there, and that allows you to kind of show up as you. Once you kind of know yourself more and more, then you can show up as yourself more and more. And I think that's not the kind of overly programmed personality roles, but a real you. I think that's all for today. I think that's good enough, and I do think this video is better than the last one I recorded. I think it's a lot more clear. So I'm gonna shoot this basketball behind me, and I have not made it yet. I think I did it on one video. So if I make this, then like I'm gonna like do something amazing for myself today. All right, let's do it. Okay, it's gonna be a normal day. Nothing amazing is gonna happen. So enjoy your day. We'll talk to you next time. All right, bye.